The alarm screamed through the metal halls of New Avalon Station as Lyra ran down the corridor with her two dragons close behind her. Ember, the red dragon, flapped his wings to keep up, while Frost, the white dragon, moved like flowing water beside them. The station shook again as another enemy blast hit the outer shields. Lyra had been the station commander for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like this. The Zephyrian Empire had arrived 3 days ago with a fleet so large it blocked out the stars. Their ships were massive things that looked like floating cities covered in weapons. She reached the command center where her staff worked frantically at their stations. The main screen showed the battle outside. Elf fighters darted between the enemy ships like tiny insects trying to sting giants, but there were too many enemies and not enough defenders. Lieutenant Maya Chen looked up from her station with worry in her eyes. "Commander, we have lost another fighter squadron, and the outer ring defenses are failing. The Zephyrians are preparing to board us." Lyra touched Ember's head as the dragon settled beside her chair. His warm scales helped calm her nerves, while Frost curled up on the other side. Both dragons could sense her fear through their mental bond that connected all elves to their dragon companions. "How long until they break through?" she asked. Maya checked her instruments. "Maybe 2 hours if we are lucky. The boarding pods are already launching." Lyra nodded and activated the long-range communications array. She had been sending distress calls for 3 days to every major power in the galaxy, but so far no one had answered. The Centauri Federation claimed they were too busy with trade negotiations. Meow. Vegan Council said they did not interfere in local conflicts. The Orion Alliance was fighting their own wars. She tried again, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. "This is Commander Lyra Moonwhisper of New Avalon Station. We are under attack by Zephyrian forces and request immediate assistance. Any ship that can hear this, please respond." Static filled the speakers for several minutes. Then a new voice came through the noise. "This is Captain Amy Rodriguez of the Earth vessel Liberty. We have received your distress signal and are moving to assist." Lyra stared at the speaker in surprise. Earth was a small world that most of the galaxy barely noticed. Humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago, and were considered primitive by the older species. "Captain Rodriguez, this is Commander Moonwhisper. We appreciate your response, but you should know we are facing a full Zephyrian fleet with over 30 warships. This is extremely dangerous." The human voice came back, steady and calm. "Commander, we understand the risks. We are bringing friends, and we will be there in 30 minutes. No one should face this alone." Maya looked confused. "Commander, the humans barely have a space navy. What can they possibly do against the Zephyrian Empire?" Lyra did not know, but something in the human captain voice gave her hope. Ember lifted his head and made a soft rumbling sound that meant he sensed something approaching through space. His dragon instincts were never wrong. Station shook again as more enemy fire hit the shields. The lights flickered, and the artificial gravity wavered for a moment. Lyra could hear the sound of laser cutters as Zephyrian soldiers tried to break through the outer hull. Frost spread her wings and made a low hissing sound. She could feel the enemy getting closer, and her ice blue eyes glowed with anger. Dragons did not like being trapped, and these invaders threatened her. "Bonded elf." Suddenly, the scanner operator called out, "Commander, I am detecting new ships dropping out of hyperspace." On the main screen, 3 sleek vessels appeared moving fast toward the battle. The ships were smaller than the massive Zephyrian dreadnoughts, but they moved with deadly grace. Their hulls were painted with the blue and white colors of Earth. Lyra watched in amazement as the human ships immediately engaged the enemy fleet. They did not hesitate or try to negotiate. They simply opened fire with weapons that blazed like blue stars. The Zephyrian ships turned to face this new threat, clearly surprised by the sudden attack. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the communicator again. "Commander, this is Liberty. We have brought the battleships Freedom and Justice along with marine assault groups. We are moving to break the siege." The human ships fought like nothing Lyra had ever seen before. They used hit-and-run tactics, darting between the larger enemy vessels and striking at weak points. One human destroyer actually flew under a Zephyrian, cruiser and fired directly into its engine core, causing a massive explosion. But what impressed her most was how the humans fought not just for victory, but to protect others. A human fighter pilot deliberately rammed his damaged ship into an enemy bomber that was targeting elf evacuation shuttles. It was an act of pure sacrifice that took her breath away. Maya stared at the battle display. These humans fight like ancient elf warriors from the old stories. They have no fear. Lyra nodded, feeling something she had not felt in days. Hope. The dragons sensed her changing emotions and both moved closer to comfort her. Ember, warm presence, and Frost, cool touch, reminded her that even in the darkest times, there could be unexpected allies. The Zephyrian fleet began to change formation. Clearly caught off guard by the human tactics, they had expected to face a weak colony, with minimal defenses, not a three-way battle against determined opponents. The enemy boarding pods pulled back as their mother ships maneuvered to deal with the new threat. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through again. "Commander, we are sending Marine units to help defend your station. Our people will hold the line until we can drive off the main fleet through the observation windows." Lyra could see human assault shuttles racing toward the station. The small craft dodged enemy fire with incredible skill, weaving between laser blasts like dancers. Their pilots showed the same fearless determination as their warships. Lieutenant Chen looked up from her station with new hope in her eyes. "Commander, the human Marines are requesting docking clearance at Bay 7. They want to reinforce our defensive positions. Approve their request," Lyra said, then opened a channel to the human. Captain Rodriguez, why are you doing this? Your people owe us nothing and the risk is enormous." There was a pause before the captain answered. "Commander, where we come from, we learned long ago that no one should face the darkness alone. Our species has known what it means to cry out for help and be ignored. We will not let that happen to others." Lyra felt tears forming in her eyes as she realized the true meaning behind the human response. These people had traveled across space to help. Strangers, not for profit or politics, but because it was the right thing to do. The station shuddered one more time, but now it was from human Marines docking to help defend them. Ember and Frost both made sounds of approval as they sensed the approaching reinforcements. The dragons could feel the determination and courage of these unexpected allies. Through the speakers came the sound of human soldiers moving through the corridors, ready to fight beside the elves against the Zephyrian invaders. For the first time in 3 days, Lyra believed they might actually survive this attack. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the corridors as human Marines moved through New Avalon Station. Lyra watched through security cameras as the soldiers in powered armor took defensive positions alongside her elf warriors. The humans worked, with quiet efficiency, setting up barricades and weapon emplacements. Sergeant Lisa Banks was the first Marine to reach the command center. She removed her helmet, revealing short brown hair and kind eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Commander Moonwhisper, I am here to coordinate our defense." Lyra gestured toward Ember and Frost, who watched the newcomer with curious dragon eyes. "These are my companions. They will not leave my side." The sergeant smiled without any fear. "Beautiful creatures. We have worked with bonded pairs before on other worlds. Your dragons will be safe with us." Through the main display, Lyra could see the space battle continuing. The 3 human warships moved like hunters, stalking their prey using the asteroids and debris around the station as cover. They fired precisely at enemy weak points, then disappeared before the massive Zephyrian guns could lock onto them. Lieutenant Maya Chen called out from her station. "Commander, enemy boarding parties are cutting through hull section 12. The Zephyrians are using plasma torches to breach our outer defenses." Sergeant Banks activated her wrist communicator. "Team 3, move to section 12 and prepare for contact. Remember, these are civilians we are protecting, so watch your fire zones." The human Marines moved through the station with practiced teamwork. Each soldier knew their job and did it without hesitation. Lyra had seen many military units in her long life, but these humans impressed her with their discipline and determination. Ember lifted his great red head and made a warning sound that echoed through the command center. His dragon senses detected approaching danger long before any scanner could. Through their mental bond, Lyra felt his concern, mixed with growing respect for these human warriors. The first Zephyrian soldiers broke through the outer hull in section 12. They were tall, gray-skinned beings in heavy combat armor, carrying weapons that could melt through steel. Their plan was simple: overwhelm the defenders with superior numbers and advanced technology. But they had not expected to face human Marines. The battle in the corridors was fierce, but brief. The humans used tactics that confused the enemy soldiers, moving in small groups and striking from unexpected angles. One Marine team used the station ventilation system to attack from above, while another group flanked through maintenance tunnels. Sergeant Banks coordinated the defense from the command center, her voice calm and steady as she directed her troops. Section 12 is secure. Section 15 needs reinforcement. Team 7 provide covering fire for the evacuation route. Lyra realized the humans were not just fighting to win. They were fighting to protect every elf civilian on the station. Human medics moved through the battle zones, treating wounded elves with the same care they gave their own soldiers. Human engineers worked to restore damaged life support systems, even while under fire. "Why do you care so much?" she asked Sergeant Banks. "Your people barely know us. The galaxy has written us off as lost." The sergeant paused in her work and looked directly at Lyra. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about Earth early days when humanity was young and struggling. We sent out distress calls that no one answered. Many people died because other species chose not to get involved. We swore we would never let that happen to others." Outside the station, the space battle reached a turning point. Captain Rodriguez had led her 3 ships in a coordinated attack on the Zephyrian flagship. The massive enemy vessel was powerful, but the human tactics were unpredictable. The Liberty flew directly at the dreadnought, then rolled away at the last second, while the Freedom and Justice attacked from both sides. The enemy admiral, clearly frustrated by the human interference, ordered half his fleet to pursue the Earth ships. This was exactly what Captain Rodriguez had hoped for, with fewer vessels guarding the station. The pressure on the defenders decreased significantly. Through the communicator came the captain voice. "Commander Moonwhisper, we have drawn off most of their fleet. Our Marines can hold the station while we deal with the remaining ships." Frost, the white dragon, stretched her wings and made a sound like ice cracking. She could sense the changing tide of battle through her connection to Lyra. The enemy was still dangerous, but they were no longer certain of victory. More human reinforcements arrived in fast assault shuttles. These were not just Marines, but specialists, engineers to repair damage, medics to treat the wounded, and technicians to restore station systems. The humans brought everything needed to not just survive the attack but to rebuild afterward. Lyra walked through the station corridors with Ember and Frost beside her, observing how the humans worked. They showed no arrogance, despite their success in battle. Instead, they worked alongside the elf crew as equals, sharing knowledge and resources freely. In the medical bay, she found human doctors treating an injured elf child with gentle care. The little girl was fascinated by the strange aliens who spoke in different voices but showed such kindness. One doctor had even drawn pictures of Earth animals to distract the child during treatment. In the engineering section, human and elf technicians worked together to repair the damaged power grid. Language barriers meant nothing when lives were at stake. The humans used simple gestures and drawings to communicate their ideas, while the elves shared their knowledge of the station systems. Captain Rodriguez contacted the station again. "Commander, the Zephyrian fleet is retreating. Their admiral apparently decided this system is too costly to take. Our ships will escort them to the jump point to make sure they leave." Lyra felt relief wash over her, but also something deeper. These humans had risked everything. For people they had never met, they had faced a superior enemy force without hesitation and turned the tide of battle through courage and determination. Sergeant Banks approached with a datapad. "Commander, we have a casualty report. 3 elf civilians injured, but all will recover fully. 2 human Marines wounded but already back on duty. No deaths on our side." The numbers seemed impossible given the intensity of the fighting. "How did you achieve such low casualties?" Lyra asked. The sergeant smiled. "We trained for this, Commander. Every human Marine learns that protecting innocent lives is our highest priority. We do not measure victory by enemy killed but by civilians saved." Through the command center windows, Lyra could see the last Zephyrian ships disappearing into hyperspace. The immediate threat was over. But she knew this moment would change everything. The galaxy had ignored their distress calls, but humanity had answered without hesitation. Ember and Frost both made contented sounds as they sensed their bonded elf, relaxing for the first time in days. The dragons had witnessed something remarkable. These humans fought not for conquest or glory, but to protect others. They fought because it was right, as the human marines began securing the station and preparing for potential follow-up attacks. Lyra realized she was witnessing the birth of a new alliance. The old powers of the galaxy had shown their true nature, but these young humans had shown something different. They had shown what it meant to stand together against the darkness. The human battleship Liberty hung in space beside New Avalon Station like a protective guardian. Captain Amy Rodriguez had invited Lyra aboard to discuss what would happen next. Ember and Frost traveled with her in a specially prepared shuttle that had been modified with dragon perches and temperature controls, walking through the Liberty corridors. Lyra marveled at how different the human ship felt from other vessels she had visited. The walls were painted in warm colors, and the lighting was soft rather than harsh. Human crew members nodded respectfully as she passed but showed no fear of her dragons, only curiosity and admiration. Captain Rodriguez's quarters were comfortable, but not luxurious. The furniture was simple and practical, reflecting the no-nonsense attitude Lyra had come to expect from these remarkable humans. The captain offered tea from Earth, a gesture that spoke of hospitality rather than formal diplomacy. "Please sit," Commander Rodriguez said, gesturing to a chair that had been positioned to accommodate dragon companions. "Your people have been through a terrible ordeal, but you fought with courage that impressed my entire crew." Lyra settled into the chair, while Ember and Frost found comfortable positions nearby. The red dragon stretched his wings to their full span while the white dragon curled up like a giant cat. Both creatures seemed remarkably at ease in this alien environment. "What happens now?" Lyra asked. "The Zephyrian Empire will not forget this defeat. They may return with an even larger fleet, Captain." Rodriguez sipped her tea thoughtfully. "That is certainly possible. But they will find New Avalon much better defended next time Earth is prepared to establish a permanent garrison here, if your people agree." The offer surprised Lyra. Most species demanded payment or concessions in exchange for military protection. The humans seemed to be offering help with no strings attached. Why would you do that? "Your people gain nothing from protecting us." The captain smiled. "We gain something very valuable, Commander. We gain allies who share our values. People who believe that innocent lives matter more than politics or profit. The galaxy needs more voices like yours." Through the viewport, Lyra could see human and elf engineers working together to repair the station damage. The cooperation was remarkable, considering the two species had barely known each other a week ago. Language barriers dissolved when people worked toward a common goal. Ember lifted his head and made a questioning sound toward Captain Rodriguez. The dragon was trying to understand these strange humans who fought without expecting reward. Frost opened one ice-blue eye and studied the captain with ancient wisdom. "Your dragons are magnificent," the captain said. "May I ask how the bonding process works? I have read about it, but seeing the reality is quite different. Each elf bonds with dragons as children." Lyra explained, touching Ember warm scales. "Ember chose me when I was 7 years old, and Frost joined us when I turned 15. The bond allows us to share emotions and some thoughts. It creates a family that lasts for centuries." The captain nodded thoughtfully. "On Earth, we have similar relationships with animals we call pets, though nothing as profound as your bond. Our connection to other species taught us to value all forms of life." A communication alert sounded, and the captain activated her console. "Commander, this is Lieutenant Sandra Murphy on the bridge. We are receiving a priority message from Earth Command. Put it through," Lieutenant Rodriguez said. The screen displayed an older woman in an Earth military uniform, Admiral Helen Carter, commander of the Earth Defense Force. "Captain Rodriguez, your actions at New Avalon have attracted attention across the galaxy. The Centauri Federation is demanding to know why we interfered in local affairs." Captain Rodriguez straightened in her chair. "Admiral, we responded to a distress call from civilians under attack. The Centauri Federation ignored that same call for 3 days. The Admiral smiled. I am not criticizing your actions, Captain. In fact, Earth Command fully supports what you did. The Federation ambassador can complain all he wants, but we will not apologize for saving lives. Lyra felt a surge of emotion as she realized the humans were facing political pressure for helping her people. The galaxy major powers were angry that a small new species had shown them up by doing what was right. Admiral Carter continued, Captain, the President has authorized Operation Open Hand. We are establishing permanent defense agreements with any species that requests our protection. The galaxy may ignore distress calls, but Earth will not. The implications were staggering. Lyra realized she was witnessing the birth of something new in galactic politics. For thousands of years, the major powers had maintained order through fear and self-interest, but humanity was offering something different: protection based on shared values rather than political advantage. After the communication ended, Captain Rodriguez turned back to Lyra. Commander, I hope this does not worry you. Our government believes strongly in the right of all species to determine their own fate. We offer protection, but never demand control. Lyra stood and walked to the viewport where she could see New Avalon Station, bustling with activity. Human and elf children played together in the recreation areas, while their parents worked side by side to rebuild what had been damaged. The sight filled her with hope for the future. Captain Rodriguez, she said, I need to ask you something personal. When you received our distress call, did you hesitate at all? Did anyone suggest you should ignore it like the other powers did? The captain joined her at the viewport. Our military advisors calculated the odds of success at less than 30%. They recommended we request additional ships before engaging. But when faced with people in immediate danger, those calculations seemed meaningless. Some things are more important than odds. Ember and Frost both approached the viewport, drawn by the sight of the station and the activity outside. Through her bond with them, Lyra felt their contentment. They had found people they could trust in this vast cold galaxy. A soft chime indicated another message, this time from the station. Lieutenant Maya Chen appeared on the screen. Commander, we are receiving communications from elf colonies across 3 sectors. They have heard about what happened here and are requesting similar defense agreements with Earth. Lyra felt her heart race. The news was spreading faster than she had expected. Other elf communities, isolated and vulnerable, were reaching out to humanity for the protection the galaxy had denied them. Captain Rodriguez looked thoughtful. We will need to expand our fleet considerably to honor all these requests. But Earth has been building ships as fast as our shipyards can produce them. We prepared for this day. What day? Lyra asked. The day when someone would finally stand up to the bullies, the captain replied. The galaxy has been ruled by fear for too long. Species like the Zephyrian Empire take what they want because no one stops them. But that changes now through the mental bond. Lyra felt her dragon's approval. Ember spread his wings proudly, while Frost made a sound like wind through ice crystals. They understood that their bonded elf had witnessed something historic, the moment when a young species decided to be better than their elders. Commander Rodriguez said, I know this is a lot to process, but I need to ask. Will you consider serving as a liaison between Earth and the elf colonies? Your people trust you, and your experience would be invaluable. Lyra looked at her dragons, who both made encouraging sounds. They were ready for whatever came next. The galaxy had ignored their cries, but humanity had answered. Now it was time to make sure that answer reached every corner of space where the innocent suffered in darkness. She turned back to the captain. Yes, I will help. Earth showed us what it means to have true allies. Now we must extend that protection to others who need it. Outside the viewport, the stars shone with new possibilities. 6 months after the battle at New Avalon Station, Lyra stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship Unity, watching as another elf colony came under human protection. The planet Silverleaf had requested help after Orion Alliance raiders began attacking. Their mining operations, Ember and Frost, had grown comfortable with space travel and now served as unofficial ambassadors to other dragon-bonded species. The red and white dragons had learned to communicate with humans through simple gestures and sounds that Captain Rodriguez's crew understood perfectly. The Unity was larger than the Liberty, and carried not just Marines but engineers, doctors, teachers, and diplomats. Earth had learned that winning battles was only the first step in creating lasting peace. The real work came afterward when communities needed to rebuild and heal. Commander Lyra Captain Rodriguez said, approaching with a datapad. We have received another request for assistance, this time from the Aquarian Waterworlds. The Zephyrian Empire is demanding tribute payments or they will blockade all shipping routes. Lyra studied the message, feeling familiar anger rise in her chest. The Zephyrians had become bolder since their defeat at New Avalon, apparently believing that one loss meant nothing against their vast empire. They continued to threaten smaller species, knowing the galaxy. Major powers would not interfere. How many ships do they have in that sector? She asked. Intelligence reports suggest a full battle group, Rodriguez replied. At least 20 vessels, including 2 dreadnoughts. This would be our largest engagement yet. Through her bond with the dragons, Lyra felt their eagerness for action. Ember scales seemed to glow brighter while frost wings trembled. With anticipation, both creatures understood that their human allies were preparing to face danger once again, to protect innocence. The bridge communications officer looked up from her station. Captain, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Carter wants to speak with you directly. Put her through, Rodriguez ordered. Admiral Helen Carter appeared on the main screen, her expression serious. Captain, the Galactic Council has called an emergency session. They are demanding that Earth cease all military operations outside our home system. The major powers claim we are destabilizing the established order. With respect, Admiral Lyra interjected, the established order allowed the Zephyrian Empire to attack defenseless colonies without consequence. We are not destabilizing anything, we are fixing what was already broken. The Admiral smiled. Commander Moon whisper. I could not agree more. The President has authorized me to tell you both that Earth will not abandon our allies. The Galactic Council can complain all they want, but we will continue to answer distress calls. Captain Rodriguez nodded. Earth Command, what are our orders regarding the Aquarian situation? You have full authorization to engage. Admiral Carter said, we are also sending additional ships. The battleships. Courage and Hope will join you along with Marine assault groups. This ends now. After the communication ended, Rodriguez turned to her crew. Begin preparations for hyperspace. Jump to the Aquarian system. All departments, report readiness status. Lyra watched the efficiency of the human crew as they prepared for another battle and 6 months of working alongside these remarkable people. She had learned to appreciate their quiet competence. Unlike the bombastic declarations of other species, humans simply did what needed to be done. The ship engineering officer approached with concern in her voice. Captain, our intelligence on Zephyrian fleet strength may be incomplete. Long-range sensors detect energy signatures suggesting they have more ships than reported. Rodriguez considered this information calmly. How many more ships? Possibly double what we expected. Chief Engineer Kelly Murphy replied. The Zephyrians may have set a trap hoping to destroy our fleet and end human interference permanently. Ember lifted his great head and made a sound that resonated through the bridge. His dragon instincts sensed the growing tension among the crew, while Frost spread her wings in a gesture that meant she was ready to fight. Despite the odds, Commander. What do you think? Rodriguez asked, turning to Lyra. Your people have dealt with the Zephyrians longer than we have. Lyra studied the tactical display showing the Aquarian system. The water worlds were isolated with only a few jump points, making them easy to blockade but also easy to defend. The Zephyrians would expect Earth ships to arrive through the main shipping lane. They are arrogant, she said finally. They believe their superior numbers guarantee victory, but they have not learned to fight humans yet. Captain, I suggest we teach them another lesson. Rodriguez smiled. What did you have in mind? Lyra pointed to a secondary jump point near the system edge. This route is considered too dangerous for large ships because of gravitational anomalies. But human pilots have shown they can handle difficult navigation better than anyone. If we split our forces, we can attack from 2 directions simultaneously. The tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Blake, ran calculations on her console. Commander, that route would require precise timing. and exceptional piloting skills. One mistake could destroy an entire ship in those gravity wells. "Then we better not make mistakes," Rodriguez said. "Begin plotting approach. Vectors for a two-pronged assault. Send word to the Courage and Hope. They will take the conventional route while we use the dangerous path as the Unity prepared for hyperspace jump." Lyra felt the familiar mix of fear and determination that came before battle, but there was something else now, a confidence born from 6 months of victories against impossible odds. Humanity had proven that courage and determination could overcome superior numbers and technology. The ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying its crew toward another confrontation with tyranny. The stars streaked past the viewports like rivers of light, while deep in the hull, human marines checked their weapons and elf liaison officers coordinated with dragon companions Ember and Frost settled beside Lyra command chair, both creatures radiating calm strength through their mental bond. They had learned to trust these humans, who fought not for conquest, but to protect others. The dragons understood that their bonded elf had found something rare in the galaxy. People who shared her values. Captain Rodriguez's voice echoed through the ship. "All hands, this is the captain. We are approaching the Aquarian system where the Zephyrian Empire is threatening innocent civilians. This is what we trained for. This is why Earth builds warships not to conquer but to protect." The crew responded with quiet determination rather than cheers. These were professionals who understood the gravity of their mission. They carried the hopes of species across the galaxy, people who had been ignored by the major powers but found unexpected salvation in humanity. Through the mental link, Lyra felt her dragon's confidence mixing with her own. They were ready for whatever waited in the Aquarian system. The galaxy might ignore the cries of the innocent, but humanity would always answer. The Unity dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of a gravity well that would have torn apart most ships. The human pilot navigated the treacherous space with skill that amazed even Lyra, who had seen the best elf pilots in action. Ahead lay the Aquarian worlds, blue and beautiful, but surrounded by the dark shapes of Zephyrian warships. The enemy had indeed brought more vessels than expected, but Captain Rodriguez showed no hesitation as she ordered the attack to begin. The battle for Aquarian freedom was about to start. The Battle of Aquarian Waters became legend across the galaxy, as humanity proved once again that courage could triumph over overwhelming odds. The Unity emerged from the gravity well with weapons blazing, while the Courage and Hope attacked from the main shipping lane. The Zephyrian fleet found itself caught between two forces, and their careful trap became their downfall. Lyra watched from the bridge as human tactics again confounded the enemy. The Zephyrians expected large fleet engagements, with massive ships trading fire at long range. Instead, human vessels darted between the water worlds, using the planet's gravity to accelerate and change direction in ways that seemed impossible. Ember and Frost pressed close to their bonded elf as the ship shook from enemy fire. Their presence calmed Lyra's nerves while she coordinated the defense with Captain Rodriguez. The dragons had become valuable members of the crew, their natural instincts helping detect threats that scanners missed. "Captain, we have multiple breaches in the Zephyrian flagship," reported Lieutenant Blake. "The enemy admiral is requesting communication. Put him through," Rodriguez ordered. The main screen showed a tall, gray-skinned Zephyrian in ornate armor, his face twisted with rage. "You humans dare interfere with Empire business. These worlds belong to us by right of superior force." Captain Rodriguez's response was calm and steady. "Admiral, those worlds belong to the people who live on them. Your empire has no right to threaten innocent civilians." The Zephyrian admiral snarled. "You are a young species that does not understand galactic realities. The strong take what they will, and the weak suffer what they must. This has been the natural order for millennia." "Then, the natural order is wrong," Rodriguez replied. "We choose to be better than that." The communication ended as the Zephyrian flagship exploded under concentrated fire from all 3 human battleships. The remaining enemy vessels fled into hyperspace, leaving the Aquarian worlds free. The battle was over, but Lyra knew the real work was just beginning. Over the following year, Earth expanded Operation Open Hand into a galaxy-wide network of protection. The human fleet grew from dozens of ships to hundreds. As Earth shipyards worked around the clock, species that had suffered in silence for generations found their voices and called out for help. Lyra served as the primary liaison, coordinating between Earth forces and the dozens of species that requested torsier protection. Her reputation spread as the elf commander who had witnessed humanity. First heroic stand at New Avalon Station. Dragons from across the galaxy sought her out, wanting to understand these remarkable humans. The Galactic Council tried repeatedly to force Earth to stop their rescue operations. Economic sanctions were threatened, trade agreements were canceled, diplomatic protests filled the communication networks. But humanity refused to abandon their allies. Admiral Carter explained Earth's position during a council session that Lyra attended via hologram. "We did not ask to become the galaxy protectors, but when innocent people cry for help, we will answer. The council had 1,000 years to create a just and peaceful galaxy. Instead, you created a system where the strong prey upon the weak." The Centauri Federation ambassador stood angrily. "Humans, you overstep your authority. Your species is barely 50 years old in space. You cannot simply ignore established treaties and territorial agreements." Lyra rose from her seat with Ember and Frost flanking her council members with respect. "The established treaties you mention are the same ones that condemned my people to death. When the Zephyrian Empire attacked New Avalon, who answered our distress calls? Not the Federation, not the Vegan Council, not the Orion Alliance. Only Earth responded." The Vegan Council representative tried to speak, but Lyra continued. "The humans showed us what the galaxy could be if we chose compassion over convenience. They proved that superior technology means nothing without superior character. You had the power to help but lacked the will." Ember spread his wings and made a sound like distant thunder while Frost hissed softly. Both dragons radiated protective energy that even the council members could sense. Through the hologram, their presence felt intimidating to beings who had grown comfortable with others. Submission. Captain Rodriguez, who had been promoted to admiral, spoke from her position. "Beside Lyra council members, Earth offers a simple proposal. Work with us to create a true peacekeeping force that protects all species regardless of their size or political influence. Or continue your current path and watch as more species choose human protection over council authority." The debate that followed revealed the council's true nature. The major powers cared only about maintaining their dominance over smaller species. They spoke of order and stability, but meant control and submission. The old galaxy was dying, and they knew it. After the session ended, Lyra and Admiral Rodriguez walked through the council station corridors where representatives from dozens of species approached them quietly. Many whispered thanks for human intervention, while others quietly asked how their worlds could join the growing alliance. A young Aquarian diplomat swam up to them in a mobile water tank. "Commander Moon Whisper, Admiral Rodriguez, my people want you to know that we have named our capital city New Humanity in honor of your sacrifice for us." Similar gestures came from across the galaxy. The elf colony on Silverleaf erected a monument to human courage. The mining worlds of the asteroid belt declared an annual celebration of Earth friendship. Even species that had never been directly helped by humans began to see them as symbols of hope. But the greatest change came in how species treated each other. The human example inspired others to help their neighbors. Small alliances formed as worlds that had been isolated began to work together for mutual protection. The galaxy was learning that strength came not from domination, but from cooperation. 5 years after the battle at New Avalon Station, Lyra stood on the bridge of the massive Earth battleship Defender, the flagship of what had become known as the Freedom Fleet. Ember and Frost, now middle-aged dragons, had become legends in their own right. Their presence at human ceremonies inspired other bonded pairs to join. The cause Admiral Rodriguez approached with a message pad. "Commander, we have received word from Earth Command. The Galactic Council has officially disbanded. The member species have voted to join our protection network instead." Lyra smiled as she looked out at the fleet assembled around them, hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all flying under the banner of mutual protection and shared values. The old order had finally collapsed under the weight of its own indifference. Through her bond with The dragons, she felt their satisfaction. Ember and Frost had lived through centuries of galactic politics, where the strong preyed upon the weak. But they had also witnessed the birth of something new, a galaxy where courage and compassion mattered more than military might. Captain Rodriguez's voice echoed through the ship as she addressed the fleet. Today marks the beginning of a new era in galactic history. We came from a small world that most considered insignificant, but we carried something, that the galaxy had forgotten the belief that every life has value. The fleet responded not with cheers but with a moment of silence for all those who had suffered while the galaxy looked away. Then slowly, ship after ship began broadcasting the same message across all frequencies in every known language. We hear your cries and we will answer. No one fights alone. Lyra felt tears in her eyes as she realized what they had accomplished. The galaxy that had ignored their desperate calls for help had been transformed by the actions of a young species that refused to accept that suffering was inevitable. Ember and Frost pressed close to their bonded elf, sharing her emotions through their ancient connection. They had seen empires rise and fall, but this was different. This was not conquest but liberation, not domination but cooperation. The message continued to spread across the galaxy, carried by ships that had once been enemies but were now allies. In the darkness of space, where the strong had once preyed upon the weak, a new light was shining. Humanity had answered when no one else would, and in doing so had shown the galaxy what it meant to be truly civilized.